Hello lovely people. Today I'm going to start looking at the Arin-Arin. Now, as I've mentioned before in the Fandango videos, the Arin-Arin is a little dance that in a bal folk context is always tacked on to the end of a Fandango. There's a short break and then there's an Arin-Arin after Fandango. I haven't been able to find out why. And the Arin-Arin does exist as a dance in its own right. But in bal folk, you would be very unlikely to find people just announcing, right, we're going to dance an Arin-Arin now. It's a Fandango and it's assumed that there'll be an Arin-Arin afterwards. So a Fandango is a 3-time dance. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's heavily syncopated, but it's still 3 beats. Arin-Arin is 2s or 4s, depending on how you count it. So it's a simpler rhythm, but it's also danced faster. And so we'll look at what makes that up. I can assure you that if you are just wanting to get fit and you have limited space, the Arin-Arin takes up very little space. It's danced as close as you can get it to on the spot most of the time. And it's danced in a group, but it is an individual dance. You are dancing it on your own in a group. If you're wanting to build up your aerobic fitness, just learn the Arin-Arin and practice it. And I guarantee you'll get fitter. You'll see why soon enough. So the structure of the dance is simple. It's simpler than the Fandango, certainly. You have a chorus step, and then you have the figures. There are 2 figures. They are very similar to each other, and you alternate them. So basically you dance chorus, figure A, chorus, figure B, chorus, figure A, chorus, figure B. One of the most difficult things in the dance is trying to remember when you finish the chorus which one of the figures you danced last time. So let's do a little bit of warming up. And then I will show you, I'll talk a little bit about the structure of the dance, and then we'll work on the chorus step, the basic chorus step. So, as always with the warming up, let's just do a little bit of bouncing. I'll show that to you sideways, gently, feet parallel, both pointing in the same direction, not pigeon-toed, not pointing in, not pointing out. And let your knees go over your toes, let your tailbone drop. Lift the lower abdomen in slightly, but don't hold your breath. And try and get a sense of your spine being quite nice and erect. And almost as though there's a little thread attached to the crown of your head, pulling you upwards so the back of your neck lengthens. So we're trying to get a nice, loose, but upright posture. Okay, and then slow that down and bend gently as far as you can without your heels coming off the ground. Come back upright without locking your knees. And then take your heels off the ground so you rise up. And again, lower through the feet and try and get that sense of pushing and working through the feet. So you're also working on your balance at the same time. So we do that a few times. Make sure that your arms and your shoulders are loose and free. And then walk through the feet, pushing the arch of the foot forwards so that you get a nice stretch on your instep. And then stand on one leg and point the other toe forwards, and then we flex and point the foot. And rotate the foot in one direction and then the other. So you're loosening up your ankle and you're practicing standing on one leg. And then put that foot down and try it on the other leg. Point the toe, flex the foot, point and flex a few times. And then rotate the foot at the ankle in one direction and in the other. Okay, so even if I start a video without showing you any warming up, it's always a good idea to warm up a little bit before you start, especially the feet, ankle joints, the feet, knees, hips. For these dancers that do a lot of neat footwork, Okay, so the chorus step of the Arin-Arin, it uses a version of the 1, 2, 3 that we've worked on previously. So if you'd like to practice that a little bit, and you see that I'm actually very deliberately stepping onto one foot and putting the ball of the other foot down in front of me. So my weight changes. That's my standing leg, that's my standing leg. But I'm going down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, which is why the knees have to be loose. They never get locked. Right. Let me show you a scheme of the chorus step of the Arin-Arin. If you watch somebody dancing this who wants to expend the least possible amount of energy and who maybe has learned this dance from watching other people, the thing that they are likely to do is something along these lines. They're going to go, point one foot out, point the other foot out, do that same thing faster, change, change, and go back to the first foot. So what I'm doing is change, 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 change. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you have the idea of doing that. Let's do that. Please bear in mind that this is the most basic, simple form of this dance, which wouldn't even really be considered a correct form traditionally in the Basque country, but I'm showing it to you because we will develop from here, and you will see people doing this. Let me find some music. So the music that I'm going to use has very kindly been recorded for us again by Ben Farmer of Lancaster. I have slowed it down using some fairly basic music editing software called Audacity. So I'm going to play it quite slowly to begin with, and it sounds fairly horrible, but at least you get to work on the steps slowly. It will sound better when we use the music at a more normal speed. I'm going to dance at this angle so you can see what I'm doing a bit better. Here we go. Break. So what you can see there in this simplified version, super simplified version of the step, if I face forward onto you, I'm jumping onto one foot and pointing the other one in front. It's a change. And then I change again. And then I just change faster. Change, change, change. And each time I'm pointing my toe out along the floor. You can, if you want to, leave the toe off the floor. Change, change, change. And you'll see that when I land on a soft bent knee. So change, 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 change. And your feet should be going really straight out in front of you, not out there really. Keep them pointing straight forward and straight out in front of you as much as you can. Okay, so that's the super simplified version. The next simplified version is to look at the first part of it. Instead of just doing change and waiting there, we're going to do something slightly different. We're going to step onto one foot, put the ball of the other foot down, and then bring the standing leg neatly underneath the foot that's got its heel lifted like that. So I went step, put the ball down, and shift the standing foot underneath it. And then I'm going to do step, put the ball down, and shift my standing foot underneath it. Now, in order to show this to you clearly, I can exaggerate the movement. I can go step, put the ball down, shift the foot, step, put the ball down, shift the foot. But when you dance it, please bear in mind that the more neatly and on the spot you can do this, the more you will economize on energy. So it's going to be step, put the ball down, shift the foot, step, put the ball down, shift the foot. So now how that fits into the pattern that we were working on earlier is to go step, ball, shift, step, ball, shift, change, change, step, ball, shift. So it's going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I hope that makes sense. My counting goes all over the place, but you should be able to see the rhythm of it anyway. 1 step, 2 steps, change, change, last step. Or 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's probably the most accurate. Anyway, so what we need to do here is to go step, ball, shift, and then there's a little pause, step, ball, shift. Then we do those 2 changes, which are just as they were before. You shoot, you jump onto this leg and shoot the other foot forward, pointing the toe on the floor. Jump onto that foot and shoot this foot forward. And you can do it with the toe on the floor like that, or you can do it with the foot right off the floor. It's entirely up to you. So it's going to look step, ball, shift, step, ball, shift, change, change, step, ball, shift. Right, let's see how we go with that at the slow speed. Are you ready? It's coming. Here we go. So I tried to do that last bit turning away from you so you could see me from behind. I feel very insecure when I turn my back to the camera because I can't see what I'm doing and whether I'm still in the shot or not, but I hope for the best. So the things to look out for there again is to keep it as neat as you can. If I do it big so that you see, you'll see there's a big shift that's possible. Step, put the foot out there and shift. But that means that your whole axis is going to shift with you. And you'll just use up your energy resources much more quickly that way. But when you start, you'll find that if you try and do it very, very tiny, you'll actually get your feet will kind of get tangled up because you won't be able to work out what's happening with what. So you just learn the step as best you can, and then as you get more patterned in with it, you make it smaller and neater. That's the general idea. Also, I can see just from watching myself that I tend to dance with my feet turned out. It comes from ballet training as a child, but actually you try and keep it more pointing straight forwards. But you do need to keep the heel of the foot up so that you can tuck the standing leg. When you shift it, you can tuck it in underneath like that. It's very balletic. So there we go. That is the less super simplified version of the basic chorus step of the Arin-Arin. There is another refinement. That's completely acceptable to dance in that style. The super simplified version like that is acceptable if you want to dance and that's all you can manage. But it's not really anything like a correct step. The last step is one that I've been working on recently. I'll come forward and tell you about this. So I'll show it to you as best I can. I may or may not have learned this version of the step many years ago. If so, I forgot it a long time ago. But last weekend, I did a wonderful workshop, a whole day workshop with Koen, Dhondt of Frisse in Belgium. He did an online workshop in the Arin-Arin. And he taught the step. And it is a refined version of what I've just showed you. And it is slightly trickier, but it's worth trying if you, if you feel that you can twiddle your feet around fast enough. It's a lovely thing to do. I'll try and show you how it works. So what we've just been working on a moment ago was step, shift. Step, place, shift. Step, place, shift, step, place, shift. Change, change, step, place, shift. Now, the refinement is that you step and you place that foot, but you don't leave it there, you touch it down well across your standing leg, and then you shift it very slightly to the outside. So you put the foot, you do the step, and instead of just placing the foot and shifting, you touch and then place it and then shift the foot. So it's called a doubled movement because you actually do a double touch there. Step, touch, place, shift. And it's in the same timing, so that touch, place is twice as fast as just going step, touch. On the other foot, step, touch, place, shift. Step, touch, place, shift. Step, touch, place. I've got taffled up with the words and the feet. Step, touch, place, shift. Step, touch, place, shift. Now when you try and practice this, you will think that you have gone step and you've put your foot well across before you move it out and then shift. And then you've stepped and you've put your foot well across and moved it out and then shifted. And if you were to look at yourself in the mirror or film yourself, you would find that in fact, you probably hadn't, because that's how I experienced it. I tend to go step, and I think I've crossed, but actually I've gone there, and then I move my foot there, and then this one comes underneath. So I've moved a long way in that. Step, touch, place, shift, step, touch, place. And it means that the placement to which you finally shift is quite far away. So you just have to shift your axis further. So once you've got, again, like the other one, once you've got the hang of the step, you then practice it to get it patterned in to muscle memory, and then you work to keep it smaller and neater so that your feet are twiddling around right underneath you. And sometimes you can't easily feel the difference between step, place, shift, and the step with a double place, step and shift, step and shift, step and shift. And I did find when I was learning it that the one thing that helped when I was getting up to speed on this was that the first step, I was very enthusiastic about driving the heel of my standing leg into the ground, and that helped the free leg to bounce from that touch across there to out there. If your brain is starting to fizzle at this point, and you think, why don't we just do a bit of dancing and less talking, I think that's probably a good idea. if you just try slowly to get the hang, then you can work on the refinements later. And if you're finding that actually a doubling of the step is just not going to work for you yet, then just keep practicing the step, place, shift. So it goes step, place, shift, step, place, shift, step, place, shift, step, place, shift. But in the scheme of the chorus step, it would be step, place, shift, change, change, step, place, shift. And then again, step, place, shift, change, change, step, place, shift. So let us have the music, and you can practice either step, place, shift. You can do that, and you can, don't worry even about the change, change, just do that step. Or you can do the full scheme, or you can start trying to work on the double move. I'm deliberately making quite a sharp, jiggly movement there so that you can try and, so I hope you will see that there's a double movement there. Okay, that's something to work on. Let's find the music. So I'll start with a simple version and then build up. Here we go. Next version. This is just a step. Step, place, shift, step, place, shift. Now in the context of the scheme, here we go. Now with the double. Stop for a moment. So I did warn you that it was a good aerobic exercise. So I wanted to say to you, you would, if you were dancing this and not just learning it and practicing it, you would have your arms up here. It's described in various ways. A good way to think of it that Koen used is as if you just caught a giant beach ball in your arms. But when you watch the traditional dancers, they don't hold their arms rigidly up like this. They actually click and shake their arms as they go. But the one thing to do is to try and keep your elbows at least as high as your shoulders, and in fact preferably slightly higher. So you get that downward slope of the arms. When your elbows droop to being level with your shoulders or below, it starts to feel very heavy. So my only recommendation here is that you work on the muscles of your back to try and help you get that sense of holding your arms up rather than holding them up with these muscles. And when you're actually learning the steps and just practicing, it isn't really worth using all that extra energy to keep your arms up there. So you might want to let them stay down by your sides. And it starts to look a bit like Irish dancing, especially if you get tense. So bear in mind that your arms do come into it eventually, but not at the moment. Another top tip from Koen was remember to try and keep relaxed as you speed up and develop the step, either in its complexity or in its speed, that you try and keep relaxed with it. That doesn't mean kind of heavy and floppy. You still have that upright posture. But it's just a case of that the tenser you get, the more energy you will use to move your feet around to the places where you think they need to be. So in the long run, every now and again, remember to shake loose and don't forget to breathe. Favorite joke coming up, because my success rate with people who've stopped breathing is remarkably low. Yes, I think what next is to mention that, okay, we are working on this step at the moment. In the actual choreography of the dance that we're going to end up doing, this chorus step you do 4 times, that's all. And then you move on to one of the figures, either the first or the second figure. So although we practice it quite a lot at the moment, you're not going to be doing that endlessly when we actually dance. Maybe I could give you a tiny taster. I'm not going to dance it, but I'm just going to show you the scheme of how the whole dance works, so that if you haven't seen it before, you have some kind of a clue of the shape that we're aiming towards. So we do a chorus step, whichever version of it you're going to do, to change. This is the second one. This is the third one, change, step, place, turn. Last one, change. And then we move very slightly, either side to side or on a slight curve, but keeping it small. We move off to the side of the free leg, whichever one that is at the moment, and we do a little swivel and turn, and we move and come back again. And we do this 7 times. That was 2 of them. This is the third one, 4th. I'm doing a very schematic, simplified version of what you'll actually be doing with your feet. This is the 7th one, and then having come to here, we turn back to place in the same way that we did those turns in the Fandango. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Here we are, and we start with the chorus step again. That's one of them. This is the third one. 4th one. Now this leg is free. I'm going to go that way, but this is the second figure. So it's like the first but different. We go off to that side, because that's the side of the free leg, and we turn back to place, doing that linking turn, 1, 2, 3, and then this foot is free and we go off that way. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you'll find that once we've done 4 times through that, going off slightly to one side and turning back, going off slightly to one side and turning back, 4 times we'll have finished up the music. The dance, in case this has kind of escaped your notice, it's like the Fandango. It will be danced in a social, in a Bal folk context. It would probably be danced in a circle, not necessarily facing a partner. In a competition or in a show, or in a social context, you might dance opposite a partner and mirror what they're doing. But more likely you will find yourself in a group of people and you'll be facing the center of your circle. So when, for example, the chorus is just done facing that center. But when we go to the figures, you go off slightly, you go around the circumference of the circle, but not hugely far. If you do, let's see if I do this here. If you do kind of big steps like that, well, that's fine, but you will really race and get very tired. So we do actually do quite small movements. And you might find if you're dancing opposite a partner that you just kind of turn your body slightly as you do those steps. You don't even really move very far. What I showed you was a schematic version. You might find that people seem to be dancing with just those kind of sludgy movements, and they're just following the schema but without really doing the stepping with their feet. So that was to show you the shape where we're going, but I will show you the actual footwork that you would use to keep in the style of the chorus step that we have been working on. So it's going to be more like that. I think let's just have a breather, but in a moment I'm going to put on the music. I'll put it on again, the slow version, and then I'll put on the fast version. Not full speed, but faster. So practice whichever version you want to for the moment. This is still slowed down music. Here we go. Next version. Enough. Again, whichever version you want to practice. Second version. Third version. Any version you like. Enough for the moment. So now the moment that we've been working towards today, I'm going to put the music on at the speed that Ben originally played it. I do have some slightly bad news for you. He doesn't play as fast as a lot of Arin-Arin players do. I asked him to try and, keep it to a reasonable level. If you go hunting around on YouTube, you will find a variety of things, and you will find lots of examples of Arin-Arin music that seems to have been speeded up to completely impossible speeds. So you will then see why it's so important as you learn the step to work on the refinement of getting it smaller and neater so that you can fit them in without breaking your ankles or killing yourself in the process. But anyway, let's I'm sure that's encouraged you enormously. I'll put Ben's music on, and again, just practice whichever version of it you want to at this stage. But let me encourage you not to stick with a super simplified version, because that really is kind of the one that will be most oh, how can I say this in a non-judgmental way? The one that would be the least impressive in a Balfolk context. And besides, if you dance that version in a Balfolk context and people say, well, where did you learn the Arin-Arin? Please don't tell them that you learned it from me. Here we go. So thanks once again to Ben for being so kind as to record the music for us. I will put a link to where you can contact him in the description below the video. Thank you also to Koen, who is a far better teacher than me and who does some online workshops during this coronavirus time. And you will find them through Frisse Folk. And I will put a link to that in the description below the video as well. I suggest that for the moment you go back and practice that last piece or go back to the slower music, work on that basic step, that chorus step, and in the next video I will start looking at the two figures and we'll start getting those together as well. Right, thanks very much. Bye for now.